It's one living legend in the door at Manchester City and one striking, dummy-spitting whinge bag out the door the other way, off you pop, João Cancelo. And I'm happy. I'm happy with the business Manchester City doing. We now live in a world where Barcelona is a backward step from Manchester City. Just let that sink in for a while. Just rewind the clock back to 08-09 season where Messi was ripping it up in La Liga, and just picture the world where Barcelona is a step down from Manchester City. It was unfathomable to even think of such things back then, but we live in that world. So who knows what the future may hold for Manchester City, the levels we're achieving now, but it's an amazing time to be a Manchester City fan. I think it's about time Cheeky Burgerstein, as people seem to be calling him. I mean, the only problem I've got at Burgerstein is when I get a Big Mac, big blob of Big Mac sauce to go and plop on there. Other than that, Burgerstein's doing great things at Manchester City, and I'm very, very happy with Mr. Burgerstein, if you want to call him Mr. Burgerstein. But Cheeky's doing wonderful things, he really has, and I feel like he's received a lot of unfair criticism from Manchester City fans over the years. I can't think of too many howlers that he's had in the transfer market. Calvin Phillips is definitely one. You go way back to like Mangala, Wilfred Bonney, things like that. We've had some stinkers at Manchester City, but the amount of success stories that have taken place at Manchester City is through the roof. The envy of the world. It truly is. The envy of our rivals. He's a fantastic acquisition, Ilkay Gündoğan. There's no two ways about it, regardless of the fact that he's 33 years old. It's an incredible bit of business. It really is. 1 year contract. I know people were speculating about the idea that it could be a 2-year contract, with the second year being a coaching year. I imagine it'll be baby steps. And I mean, even if that was a mistake to allow Gündoğan to go, we say allow, he made the decision himself, with reports suggesting that Gündoğan regretted that decision, that he himself said he made a mistake. So I think both parties are held accountable in that situation, Cheeky and Gündoğan, not being able to hash out that deal 1 year ago. Who knows what we may have achieved last season had Gündoğan still been a Manchester City player, but we still went and won the league and we got to an FA Cup final. We could have done back-to-back trebles. I know that's what people are thinking about, but I mean, who knows what we're going to achieve this season? And that's so many little details involved in this. It just echoes of the success, the fantastic quality at Manchester City, the club, the aura around the club right now. I can't think of too many football clubs in the world that would have a situation where a player goes out on and leaves to go to Barcelona, which is an undeniable heritage at Barcelona. The way the club is performing right now and acting, certainly in the transfer market, is a little below our standards at least. But we are now a football club where Ilkay Gündoğan, a player of that quality, can ring up Pep Guardiola, the manager of the football club, or Cheeky, and say, "Can I come back, please?" And we go, "Yep." Absolutely. That level of relationship, that level of understanding between player, staff, is just like unheard of. You don't see it at other football clubs. The gap between staff and players is huge at most football clubs. But you look at Ilkay Gündoğan and the way we've treated him, the way he left was unfortunate, but he left with respect. He left with dignity, most importantly. And in leaving back a heritage as well, I feel like he can add to it now. I feel like this guy's going to absolutely add to it. That's the relationship between the club. Then look at what the rivals are going to look at this deal. You think about Arsenal and how they've come so close, and yeah, it feels like, well, it certainly feels like it because everyone's saying it, except City fans, of course, or at least most City fans, but most rival fans and general fans saying it's Arsenal's year. It's inevitably Arsenal's title to win this year because they got so close. That is a level of unwanted pressure that I wouldn't want landing on my doorstep if I was an Arsenal fan, or even worse, an Arsenal player. You know, I wouldn't want that level of pressure to say it's time. Now it's time. You must win the title, really, is what you're saying. By saying those things, Arsenal have to go and win the title. Because if they don't, it's nothing but failure. Because we've gone and win the title. When they first challenged us and they fell away at the end of the season when we went and won the treble, okay, people let them off because it was they weren't expecting Arsenal to be in that title race. Next season, they went toe-to-toe with us. So by people connecting the dots a little bit, this season, it has to be Arsenal's title, doesn't it? That's pressure. That's pressure. We're used to it as City fans and City players. We're used to it. And you know what this means, the signing of Gundogan. It strikes fear into the Arsenal fans, into Liverpool, and whoever. You saw Tony Kroos Toni Kroos has reacted to Fabrizio Romano's announcement, said wow with the little monkey emojis, doing that over his face. Like, that means good. That means like Real Madrid have got problems. You know, that's what he's thinking. He's thinking Gundogan at Manchester City is only going to make them better. That's all that's going to do. And I mean, let's have a look at his stats if you compare to last season. So this is 23-24. Gundogan's stats while he was at Barcelona: 51 appearances, 4,180 minutes, which is the most at Barcelona last season. So the most frequently played player is now leaving Barcelona to make way for Dani Olmo, no doubt. Which, I mean, it's a good signing. Dani Olmo's a cracking player. But Gundogan leaving with the stats underneath that you can see there, absolutely, that's a blow. You hear some respectable Barcelona fans that I've listened to on the announcement of Gundogan's leaving, they're not happy. They're not happy at all. Pleased with Olmo coming in, but they're not happy with Gundogan going the other way, and certainly going to a Champions League rival. Well, they're not rivals, are we? We're Real Madrid are a level above. That's the two clubs, isn't it, in Europe right now, is Manchester City and Real Madrid. Everyone else is beneath us. But the stats, man, like 5 goals. Yeah, I think he got a few more goals to his name in a Manchester City shirt. Played a little bit deep. He actually played left wing occasionally for Barcelona last season, but predominantly central midfield. Dropped occasionally into defensive midfield, but 14 assists is astounding, really. Fantastic numbers. Passing accuracy, there's your German efficiency right there. That's not a typo. I've not gone 1, 2, 3 on the keyboard. That is 123 chances he created. That's 97 in La Liga, only the measly 2 in Copa del Rey, and 24 chances created in the Champions League for Barcelona last season, which is just phenomenal. Phenomenal figures. So you give Manchester City front line, your Savios, your Dokus, your Haalands, you know, and anyone else you can think of. You give 123 chances. You're adding 123 chances to that Manchester City midfield that already has Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne and Rodri, by the way, who got ridiculous figures as well. Better numbers than that as well. Rodri did. And you're adding this to it? I'm feeling pretty confident about the season going into it. Gundogan, what a signing this is going to be. Reportedly, he could be wearing the number 19 shirt, formerly worn by Julian Alvarez, which is a shame that Alvarez is gone. I think I still feel like that's a loss to City, but it's not the end of the world. I feel like with Kyogo Furuhashi coming in, I think that's a good sign and a good replacement. Certainly a makeshift one. It certainly fills the gap, at least for now. With that yet to be announced as well, I imagine that's probably going to go into next week. But Gundogan signing is brilliant. Less wages as well. There's an indication of the character that we're signing. The fact that this character shows that he's willing to receive less money to play a higher standard of football, receiving a coaching education that is, you could pay £1 million and you wouldn't get it unless you get it off Pep Guardiola. You could go anywhere in the world and you would not receive that level of education and tutelage that Pep Guardiola will be providing for İlkay Gündoğan. So it was a no-brainer for him. Obviously, he received offers from Saudi and reportedly Qatar as well, offering him, that I imagine, astronomical wages. He's turned it all down. He's receiving less money than he was on at Barcelona to play for the club where he is known as a living legend. What a player, what character. Now, speaking of character, one player out the door, Mr. Cancelo. See you later. Not asked in the slightest. Now, I was hugely surprised to see the number of City fans out there that were speculating about the idea that Cancelo could be back in because of what Pep said. That's putting him in the shop window, mate. That's all Pep was doing. I said that in my most recent watch along. The nearest opportunity I had to speak on Cancelo was about the idea that this guy is not in Manchester City's plans, and Pep is simply saying that to keep him as an active player, as someone putting in the shop window for sale, basically, because it was obvious the second that the Community Shield squad was announced and not a single sighting of Cancelo. Same again against Chelsea. The guy's an absolute striking whingebag, going to Twitter and going to Instagram and saying, like, I know who I am. Oh, we know who you are. Do you know what I mean? People who say, I know who I am, like you're not open for judgment. We're all human beings on this planet, mate. We all see each other, especially players, football players, and under the microscope of football fans. When you represent, you're donning the Manchester City shirt, you're going to be judged by Manchester City fans. Your behaviour on and off the pitch will be judged. whether you like it or not. And you say, oh, I'm the only one who knows who I am. I don't give a shit who you think you are. We've seen who you are, spitting your dummy out because Pep Guardiola decided not to play you. You went to Bayern Munich and sulked in the training ground because Thomas Tuchel didn't want you. Why are Barcelona not coming back for you? You know, not even coming close to you anymore. Now he's having to resort to go to Saudi for big money. So that's who you are, you know, with reports suggesting that he threw a ball at Pep Guardiola because he didn't want to, he disagreed with something Pep said or refusing to play him. So he threw a ball at him. Then a report suggesting that in the next training session, where it was an in-house training session where they all sit down and talk tactics, he pops his headphones in. Totally disrespectful to the elite manager that is Pep Guardiola. And for me, that the second that he threw the ball, he's gone. He's gone, as far as I'm concerned. Now, the person who he is off the pitch and away from football, I'm not interested. We're here talking about football. The way you behave as a footballer. I'm not judging the human. If he wants to behave that way as a human being, have at it, mate. But don't bring that nonsense into Manchester City Football Club and then not expect to be judged by Manchester City fans. I'm sorry. Unacceptable. And I think it was astounding to see so many City fans wanting him back. I mean, come on. I mean, the player is obviously a quality player, but the player is not that important when you talk about the disruption that he will cause to the Manchester City squad. No brainer. And with reports being a €40 million deal, which is yet to be received, that despite those reports, the reports are the most latest reports from the MEN at least, suggesting that no official bid has come in yet, but one is imminent, which is good news. If we can get 35 million for Cancelo, that is an absolute bargain. Because I was saying a year ago, I would say get rid. I mean, take the loss, take the hit. You know, I would say get rid, but 35 million is an absolute steal for such a problematic player. I think it's fantastic business once again, and I think it's about time the City fans put a lot of respect on Cheeky's name, because I see too much hate being thrown his way. Impatience as well. It starts with impatience, then the name calling and the judgment of his transactions all follow in suit, which I think is totally unfair to not give him the length of the transfer window before you judge the guy. Do you know what I mean? And window after window, he has not disappointed. The tiniest little problems, which I mean, compared to some football clubs, we're on cloud nine, mate, compared to some football clubs and the way their transfer business and their policies take place. We are streets ahead of some football clubs. And yet we're spitting our dummies out as fans about Cheeky Bergenstein, who signs Erling Haaland for 50 plus million. Akanji for 15 million. Kovacic, who just ghosted past £200 million worth of Chelsea midfield and made them look like infants against men, and pops one in the top corner. The same fans were probably judging Kovacic last season and sticking the knife in him when he wasn't playing quite as well as he was. And I was saying all along, this player is an absolute superstar that could well be a perfect addition to Manchester City's midfield. And now we've got Gundogan. Thank you very much again, Cheeky, for getting some more business done. And if we can get 35 million or 40 million euros, whatever we want to call it, for Cancelo, what's the problem with Cheeky, man? What's wrong with people, man? The guy's doing absolute numbers and footballing like stories that are going to live forever in Manchester City's history. As acquisitions of players that are going down as living legends. And Cheeky's the problem. There is no problem. We're Manchester City Football Club. When the day comes when we do have a problem, it's a long way off. It's a long way off. There are things in the future that we can panic about. But right now, we are fucking brilliant. We are absolute brilliant football club and nothing to be ashamed of. And Cheeky deserves respect. But Blues, get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. I'm interested to see what you think about Cancelo. Do you think it's a mistake to let him go? Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up Silverwood.